I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, so the Sentencing Council, to my surprise, I've got to say, I didn't really trust the Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood in all of this, nor did I trust Keir Starmer. But then again, I never trust Keir Starmer in any given situation. But Shabana Mahmood, to her credit, she said, I'm not having this, when the Sentencing Council outrageously gave guidance to magistrates and judges to say that people from ethnic backgrounds, ethnic minorities, religious minorities, Muslims and the like, trans people, gays, should get more lenient treatment from the British courts than, shall we say, traditional white British citizens. An outrageous two-tier enshrinement. And Shabana Mahmood, to her credit, said if you do this, this will be two-tier justice. So today, when it was supposed to come into play, we would officially, and the Labour government would have confirmed it, have had two-tier justice in our courts. To their credit, the government has strong-armed the Sentencing Council into dropping this ludicrous instruction, ludicrous guidance, and very, very unfair, unjust guidance. But you know what they say, you know, little steps forward, small steps back. For every step forward you make, you go in reverse pretty quickly. Britain's woefully woke coppers have struck again. They have issued, the police of Britain have issued a report called, its very name makes me suspicious. It's called Anti-Racism Commitment. Anyway, this report tells Rozzers to deal with black suspects of colour, differently from white suspects. The report declares that the force's commitment to racial equality or equity did not mean treating everyone the same or being colourblind. Officers must now, according to this new initiative, consider cultural impact and community trauma when using their powers. In other words, if the local mob doesn't like it, don't arrest crooks of colour. So this is the police saying, no, you must. We mustn't be colourblind. We must check everyone's colour and deal with them accordingly. And we deal with people of colour more leniently than we do with white people. What the hell is going on?
I mean, this is absolutely outrageous. What do they mean, community trauma? Could somebody who was part of these recommendations please come on our show and talk us through what you mean by community trauma? I think I know what you mean. Yeah. I think what you mean is that there may be a baying mob who starts shrieking racism if you arrest someone rightfully and they don't happen to be a white person. Is that what you mean? Because if that's what you mean, then that is not just policing. It is not fair, it is not right, and it shouldn't be operating in our country. And policing should be colourblind. I just...
As should all justice in this country. It should not matter your race, your creed, your colour, your class, your gender, your sex. None of that should matter a jot in the eyes of the law. And yet we've had this Sentencing Council for the last 3 weeks trying to foist this on us and saying, by the way, before Shabana got tough with them, saying, oh, we don't feel we need to change our instructions at all. And now we've got the police enshrining it. And I'll tell you what they're talking about in terms of the trauma to the local community. They're talking about, for example, something that you know a lot about, the riots in Hare Hills in Leeds, when the local ethnic minorities were busy rioting, furious, about something that turned out to be completely unjustified, but they were furious. And the police just pulled out for 5 hours and let them get on with it. Also, during the summer riots after Southport in Birmingham, when the local Muslims rose up and rioted, the police pulled out. And they made an announcement saying we've talked to our partners and our stakeholders and decided that a softly approach was best. So that's what they're talking about. When the local ethnic community are upset, the police are basically saying, leave them alone.
Yeah, and this, as you say, this is already happening. I mean, again, you could use the example of the Pakistani grooming and rape gangs. Why was that treated so differently? Because they were worried about community trauma. In other words, some awkward problem. It's the same issue, wasn't it, with the length of time that it took to charge those thugs in the case of the
Manchester
Manchester
Airport, yeah.
outrage. You know why? Because of community trauma. This is an absolute nonsense, and people are beyond fed up of it. There is no way any community should get special treatment, whether they're a white community, a brown community, a black community. I really don't care. It is what matters is whether they have actually broken the law or there's reasonable grounds to suspect they have. And then all justice should be proportionate, as should policing, which is why there shouldn't be 6 police officers sent to a middle class family complaining on a WhatsApp group. What about the community trauma to white neighbourhoods around that? No one seems to care about that, do they?
They certainly don't. And what they essentially mean with this community trauma lark is that if someone from an ethnic minority stabs someone or breaks the law, if the local community are then, you know, outraged and furious by the police trying to arrest this person, then the police are sort of basically saying, well, you know, the community trauma is more important than the crime, so don't arrest. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Again, as we touched on earlier, Isabel, one of the problems I think we have with policing at the highest levels is too many top cops are just not the sharpest pins in the pack. They don't quite get
I'm
it.
sorry, but I'm afraid it's not even just the top cops, it's at the lower level. Of course, they'll all say they're just following orders, but the caliber of these officers that are making these decisions and judgments is simply not high enough. We're not recruiting people who are sufficiently intelligent, sufficiently smart to be able to make judgments. That's what's required here. You know, the people that have the capacity, that are allowed to make judgment calls, because I appreciate, you know, at the bottom rungs of policing, you are just doing what you're told. And I understand that, you know, that has to be the case at junior levels. But further up the food chain, we need people who are able to exercise some discretion, who are able to look at things and say, what is proportionate here? What is sensible? What is a good use of resources? What is a good use of Crown prosecution time? And far too often this isn't happening. And what really worries me is that this seems to be escalating, you know, in so many different areas, whether it's infringements of freedom of speech or whether it is, you know, not prosecuting people or not going after people because of fears of community trauma. This isn't getting better, it's getting way worse.
It really, really is. It's two-tier justice, two-tier policing, two-tier justice. And last time I checked, we don't approve of two-tier justice, and we certainly don't approve of two-tier policing. But the cops don't seem to have got the memo. It's very worrying.